Mr. Bunny. Do you mind that I'm filming you? Oh, you are very cute. You probably shouldn't be chewing on that plant. Hello and welcome to Christine's Creativity Cabinet. Today I'm going to show you some DIYs that involve bunnies. Oh my, bunnies have taken over the Creativity Cabinet. Yes, they have. They're like everywhere. So I'm going to show you some really simple DIYs, including, I'm just so proud of these, some really pretty bunny plates. And here's another bunny plate. And here's, whoops, a third bunny plate. And the surprise is that this bunny plate contains a picture of a real bunny, because we're going to have a real bunny in this video. So, let's get to making bunnies. I had to start by getting some bunny pictures. I got these 4 bunny pictures just by doing a Google image search. And in case you're wondering, they are copyright-free images that I got from a public domain photo site. But then I took the images and I put them through this app called Water Lily, and that's what gave them that kind of pretty watercolor effect. So now I'm starting the first plate. The plate is a melamine plate that I got from Target. It was on clearance for only 50 cents, but I think that actually the regular price of these plates is only 75 cents. So you're not going to spend much on these plates, but I think they're really nice. I started by cutting out the bunny that I was going to use. I cut it out of the background. And then I took white Waverly chalk paint and a makeup sponge and just used a kind of a dabbing motion to make a kind of white area in the middle of the plate. I made it more opaque in the center and kind of less opaque as it went out towards the edges. Once the paint was dry, I just put a layer of Mod Podge on the back of the bunny and then glued that down. Then I took my red Posca pen and I colored in the edges of the plate with that. When I went over the edge, I found that if I tacked it right away and rubbed it with my finger, I could kind of remove that little mistake. Once I got the red all the way around the edge, then I went back and I added a layer of Mod Podge to kind of seal everything down. Although I'm using my Posca pen here, I bet you could probably use a big chunky red permanent marker from the Dollar Tree and get the same effect with it. Then I made a charger to go around the plate. I used a white charger that I gotten from the Dollar Tree, and some napkins, paper napkins that have this kind of nice mattress ticking pattern on them. I basically just laid out the plate and traced around it onto the napkin, onto the back of the napkin. Then I cut that out, folded it into quarters, and then while it was folded into quarters, I used that to adjust the size of the circle to make it so that it would fit well on the plate. I wanted the little hobnails that were on the plate to still show beyond the mattress ticking. And I also had to trim some from the bottom to make it so that it wouldn't go over the edges near the center of the plate. Then I used my big glue stick to attach it to the plate. I had actually tried an original version where I used Mod Podge, but I didn't like how the Mod Podge made the napkin wrinkle. So I did it this way with the glue stick, and it still wrinkled a little bit, but not nearly as much, so I liked the overall effect better. Once I had it all attached, then I went in with my red Posca pen. Again, you could probably substitute the big chunky black, not black but red, permanent marker from the Dollar Tree. I went and made a border around it. I basically did this because the napkin was a little bit uneven, and by making a border, I kind of was able to kind of even things out. After I made that inner border, then I took the pen and I made all the little dots red, as you can see me doing here. And then my first bunny plate was complete. I really like how it looks with the charger under it. For the second bunny plate, I used a gray melamine plate, and I pretty much repeated the same painting process, though this time I made it a little bit more transparent than I did for the pink one. Then when the paint was dry, I cut out my second bunny, and I did the same kind of decoupage process that I did with the first plate. I coated the back with Mod Podge and then glued it down. Then I wanted to do the edges. I actually find that I wanted to make these edges silver, and I'm not real happy with the silver Posca pen that I have for making silver. So I tried out a bunch of other silver pens that I had in my possession and found that one that I got in a Target set, a handmade modern Target set, gave me the nice bright silver that I was looking for. So I did that around the edges of the plate, and then I gave the whole plate a coat of Mod Podge. For the charger, I decided I wanted to make a faux galvanization effect. I've experimented a lot with this in the past, and I've never been totally satisfied with it, but this time I feel like I really kind of got it down. I started with mineral Waverly chalk paint and used the makeup sponge, and just used a dabbing motion. Then I went in with elephant Waverly chalk paint and went over that. After I did the elephant layer, then I went in with black and went over it with that. Each time I did a kind of a dry sponge technique where I scraped most of the paint off the sponge after dipping it so that it would be kind of dry. For each layer, I used less paint. I did a final layer with white Waverly chalk paint. And then after that, I just let the paint kind of come off the brush, the makeup sponge, and I just used the dry makeup sponge to kind of blend everything really well. So here's the finished second plate. I really liked how it turned out, and I really think I got the faux galvanization really well. And here they both are, but you're probably wondering, where's the real bunny? Here he is. His name is Thumper. Isn't he just adorable? He's not my bunny. He belongs to the person that I rent my space from. But he's an adorable little bunny, and so I had to go and film him so that I could get a still to make my third plate. And here's the still after I put it through the water lily app. So here I am, I'm following pretty much the same process that I used for the first two plates. Again, I'm going in with white Waverly chalk paint and dabbing it on with a makeup sponge. Then once the paint was dry, I cut out my picture of Thumper and I glued him down with a coat of Mod Podge. On this plate, I decided not to put Mod Podge over the top because I kind of was not liking the slight wrinkle effect that it was giving on the other two plates. After I had it glued down, then I hand lettered his name underneath because I planned to give this to the person who owns Thumper. For the charger, I just used a full wood charger that I got from the Dollar Tree. Didn't require any advanced prep. I think this plate looks really nice on the full wood charger, and I hope the person who I rent my space from really likes it. And here are my 3 finished bunny plates. I really like how these turned out. I think these are one of the best projects that I've done for this channel. They are just so stinking adorable. I started my bunny bouquets by making some bunny signs from these 2 egg garden stakes from the Dollar Tree. I pulled the little bows off of them, and then I sanded all the glitter off. And on one of them, I gave it a coat of white Waverly chalk paint, again using my makeup sponge to apply it. When the paint was dry, I then used my mattress ticking napkin, laid the egg down on it and traced around it, cut it out, and then I separated the 2 layers because I find that this gives a better result. And then I just gave it a coat of Mod Podge, put down the napkin egg, and then gave it a coat of Mod Podge on the top. For the other sign, I used this really kind of cool wood grain wrapping paper that I got at the Dollar Tree. I think it's designed to actually be used for display projects because you find it with like the foam core board and stuff. I basically just traced around the egg, cut it out, and then put it onto the egg with a glue stick. Once the Mod Podge was dry on the first egg, then I cut out another one of the bunnies and attached it with a glue stick. And then I cut out another bunny for the other egg and also attached that with a glue stick. Then I took some letter stickers from Target and I spelled out some kind of cute little phrases on my signs. The first one, I spelled out the phrase bunny time, and for the second one, I spelled out num 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 because it looks like those bunnies are having a good time eating. And I also spelled out it's spring. On the second sign, I used a white gel pen just to create a few little highlights on that second bunny's eye, because otherwise you can't really see it in all the black. Then I took a red Posca pen on the first sign and I just colored in all the edges with that, because that gives it a little bit more of a finished look. I then took a brown Posca pen and did the edges on the second sign. And then I took a black Posca pen and I wrote the words Easter Sign Company on the stakes. Then I hot glued the little bows back onto the signs, and they were done. Then I made some mini signs for my baskets. I did that by taking apart a couple of these hanging decorations from the Dollar Tree. I used my little Dollar Tree flathead screwdriver to pull the staples out of the back. I got 2 of those squares that have the kind of frilly edges to them, and then I took off this adorable little bunny And the first thing I needed to do was to sand off all of the glitter, and then I went in with my Posca pens and I colored them a little bit of a different color that went a little bit better with my more neutral color schemes for these baskets. I used some gray, some white, and some pink for the ears. Then I took the first of the squares and I applied masking tape around the edges. And then I took some white Waverly chalk paint and painted the center white. Once the white paint was dry, I pulled off the masking tape, and then I carefully painted the edges with the truffle Waverly chalk paint, so that I had kind of a nice dark brown border on that sign. For the second sign, I decided to try a technique that I had learned from Mama Dares to DIY, and I used a paper towel to try to create a sort of a wood grain pattern on there. It didn't work out too well, and it wasn't until I watched another one of Mama's videos that I realized that I did it incorrectly because I didn't wet the paper towel first. But it was all okay, because then I went back in with some white Waverly chalk paint and did a kind of a dry brush technique, and when I was able to kind of mix the two together, I did end up with a kind of nice wood grain looking design on that second sign. Okay, back to the first sign. Once my paint was all dry, I took a yellow Posca pen and I just filled in the whole kind of background yellow there. Then I went in with my light green Posca pen and made some grass. In case you're wondering how that works, what you kind of do is you press down hard and then you swoop up, and that creates a grass stalk. After I covered it with the light green grass, then I put some dark green grass using my dark green Posca pen. I then took my black Posca pen and made a kind of a stitched border around the grass. For the second sign, I cut out my last and final bunny. This time I just cut it into a nice square that would fit on the sign. And then I just decoupaged the bunny onto the sign using the usual technique, putting Mod Podge on the back, sticking it down, and then covering it with Mod Podge over the top. For my sign stakes, I took 2 giant popsicle sticks that I got in a set from Walmart, and I painted them white with white Waverly chalk paint. Then it was time to start assembling my signs. I glued down the wooden bunny onto the first sign, and then I did some lettering onto the signs. I lettered carrot on the first sign, which I think is really cute, and I lettered spring on the second sign. Then I glued my stakes onto the back of the signs, and I finished them by lettering Easter Sign Company onto the stakes. So once my mini signs were done, then I took some bunny picks that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I pulled off the eyes, and then I took white Waverly chalk paint and painted them all white. I got this idea from Rosemary from Fab Hacks. The stakes made it actually fairly easy to paint the bunnies, though they did kind of move around on the stakes a lot, which made it a little bit more difficult. Once a bunny was painted, then I stuck it into some floral foam that I had gotten from my baskets to let them dry. You'll see 4 bunnies here, but I ended up really only using 2. Once the paint was dry, I was going to just glue the little eyes back on, but I discovered that at least for these bunnies, I don't know what Rosemary did, but for these bunnies, the eyes ended up having just a whole ton of little bits of styrofoam and glitter on them, which made them a real pain in the ass to try to clear off. So I finally just gave up on that idea, and I just went in with a black permanent marker and just made little dots for the eyes. Then it was time to assemble my bunny baskets. I used these adorable little cloth baskets that I'd gotten from the Dollar Tree. I poured some flat marbles into the bottom of each basket just to give it some weight. Then I put a styrofoam block in to stick everything in. And I stuck in my signs first, and my little mini signs. At that point, I discovered that it was just, from the way that I have my camera set up, it was just impossible to film the rest of the assembly of the baskets. But I will tell you that I basically just took some flowers and some greenery that I'd gotten from both the Dollar Tree and Target Bullseye's Playground. I stuck that in there. I also stuck in my bunny picks, and it was basically just a matter of sticking everything into the foam, and then my bunny baskets were complete. And here are the finished bunny baskets. Here's bunny basket number 2. You can see how cute the cloth baskets that I got in the Dollar Tree are. And then here's bunny basket number 1 on display. I really think these turned out to be just a really cute and wonderful decoration for the waiting room for my office.
Hello, Mr. Bunny. Do you mind that I'm filming you? Oh, you are very cute. You probably shouldn't be chewing on that plant. Mr. Bunny, yeah. Let's go in the hallway.